of a year, I see quite a number of films. Obviously, this past year has been a little different, with theaters kind of hesitantly reopening and deciding what movies are going to come out. But even then, for all the movies I see, there are some that just slip through the cracks. You just don't get to see everything. There's not enough time in the day. And luckily, thanks to DVDs and, things like that, you can kind of catch some of these ones that you missed. I remember Beck and I were actually thinking about seeing this one when we were in Omaha, and decided to go see Queen Bees instead. And I think we can all agree that was a bit of a mistake. Pardon me there. So luckily I still feel like I can review this one and still have it included in the yearly reviews and still be eligible for placement on the lists for the end of the year, because it's still within the calendar year it was released. And maybe, just because I didn't review it when it came out, maybe this will get people to go and, take a look at it or whatnot later on. So let's do this. So that's enough qualifying. Let's talk about the movie. So, in case you forgot about this one or you hadn't heard of it, so this film takes place during the Great Depression, during the Dust Bowl, and we have Luke Wilson as a well-meaning football coach, a championship, or not so much championship football coach, but a very well-respected high school football coach who quits his job and moves to the middle of nowhere, Texas, to take over as a teacher and football coach at a local orphanage. And this is a time, in the 1930s, during the Dust Bowl and the Great Depression, when orphans were on the rise. There were so many, just due to all the tragedy that was going on. So this orphanage is just overflowing with kids with tragic stories, and he decides he wants to go there and try to make a difference, and he's trying to hobble together a football team, and in doing so, of course, give these orphans a sense of pride and family and community, and also in doing so actually ends up rewriting the rules of football and creating a lot of the stuff that is standard today, like the spread offense, the reliance on the passing game and things like that. So yeah. The first thing that comes to my mind when I watch this movie is that it feels like this is a film from an earlier time. Okay? I don't know how many of you remember, but back in the early 2000s, there was just a cornucopia. Pardon me, the phone's about to flip. There we go. There was just a cornucopia of these, gritty, uplifting sports films. A lot of them coming from Disney. We Are Marshall, Remember the Titans, Invincible, The Greatest Game Ever Played, Glory Road, and that's just a couple that I can name off the top of my head. They all kind of looked, The Rookie, forgot about that one. They all kind of looked the same. They had the same beats, the same message. It was a stark contrast to the very kiddie-friendly sports movies that were popular but from Disney in the 90s, like The Mighty Ducks, and also things like Little Giants, The Big Green, things like that, these were still supposed to be uplifting and well-meaning sports films, but they were not so kiddie-centric. These followed the early 2000s tradition of, gritty realism, or as gritty realism as, Disney sports films could get. So instead of bright colors, everything had kind of a washed out color palette, a lot of browns, a lot of earth tones. The colorful characters were kind of done away with for more grounded, realistic characters. We tackled social issues and whatnot in them. And I know I had this same description when I reviewed Those Who Wish Me Dead earlier in the year, but it really does feel like this film was meant to be included in that group of films and somehow got shoved to the side, got shelved for 10, 15 years until somebody finally found it and said, oh yeah, we should make that, and suddenly got it out, because it does feel like a film out of time. This film is it is paint by numbers. It is a paint by numbers sports movie, and it fits every criteria. It checks everything off the list from those early 2000s sports movies. Like, you could play bingo by the cliches that this film throws out there. Let's just run down a few of them. Is there a ragtag group of misfits who have to learn to come together and rediscover the meaning of self-worth, family, and learn the valuable lessons that maybe the true championship is the friends we make along the way? Check. Is there an orthodox coach who is going to become the surrogate father figure for his team, and one player in particular, all while everyone else says that he's crazy for doing it? Check. Are there comically overdone villain characters who are going to stop at nothing for seemingly no reason to see that these kids don't learn those valuable lessons? Check. This is not a Disney film. I think I should specify that. This is not a Disney film, but it really feels like it, and for no other reasons than Wayne Knight and Lane Garrison as two of the most cartoony, over-the-top villain characters in a gritty, realistic sports movie that you'll ever see. I mean, the only thing they didn't do was tie Vanessa Shaw to the railroad tracks, but they did literally everything else. Speaking of which, is there a all is lost moment towards the middle of the film where the team's validity is called into question and they have to go before some kind of council to plead their case and get the people behind them to prove that they belong, to be saved by a Deus Ex Machina call from some higher up power that says, let them play? You better believe it. Is there an inspirational speech to bring the team together at a crucial moment? Yes, there is. Is there another inspirational speech when things are looking their bleakest during the big game to get the team to remember who they are and go out there and fight the good fight? Yes, there is. Is there a star player who is filled with anger and resentment, and he doesn't want to be part of this team, and he doesn't have anything to learn from the coach, but who slowly but surely will come around, and he will be the flag bearer and leader that the team needs right when they need it? Yes, there is. You get what I'm coming at with here. Oh, here's another one. Is there another fatherly mentor character, an older man with a dark history who has let his life go to ruin and is just depressed as all get out, but through relationships with the team and the coach, learns that he doesn't need to find solace for his dark past in the bottle. He can find it here with a family. Yes, there is. You get where I'm going at here, folks. This is just complete paint by numbers filmmaking. I'm going to come back to that in a second. Remember that terminology, paint by numbers filmmaking. A couple of other things I want to talk about that really annoyed me about this movie. First of all, I understand that gritty realism and trying to make the film feel more alive, and that stark contrast, like I said, to the 90s kids sports movies, the family sports movies like the Mighty Ducks and whatnot. But you know what was one of the strong points of something like the Mighty Ducks? Yes, it was stock. Yes, it was cliche. But you knew who just about each and every one of the characters were. Yes, they fit the archetypes. The team leader, the black kid, the funny fat kid, the pop culture spouting kid, the girl, you know, the bland one, the ringer from another team who comes and joins their team. Yeah, stock characters, but here's the thing. You could identify every single one of them. You knew who Charlie, Aberman, Goldberg, Banks, Connie, Guy, Jesse, you knew who those characters were. You could identify them on sight. Here, it is so hard to tell any of these kids apart. They don't even really get any kind of introduction. Two of them one of them nicknamed Chicken and one of them nicknamed Scooger or something like that. Those two kids look almost exactly alike. And it's really hard to tell who it is. So you have all these 12 kids who you're supposed to care about and who are given character traits, but you're not allowed to identify, like, physically who they are. There's a kid who stutters. There's the quarterback. But they don't have really distinguishing personalities. Or not even so much distinguishing personalities, but you're not even given, like, a roll call. Like a scene where Luke Wilson goes down the line and, you know, says, oh, you're this one, you're this one. So we, the audience, can go, okay, gotcha. You know, so therefore it makes it really hard to know who's who. The only one we really get an introduction to is Jake Austin Walker as our aforementioned, you know, brooding bad boy kid who's going to turn out to be the heart of the team. You know, he gets a lot of screen time, so we know who he is, but the rest of them, not so much. The other thing I have to that just got on my fucking nerves about this movie is the constant voiceover narration by Martin Sheen explaining to us what we were supposed to get out of just about every poignant scene. Look, okay, you need narration at the beginning to set things up. You don't need it, but that's where it should be used. Beginning to set things up, and at the end to wrap things up, bookending the plot. You don't need narration all the way through unless it's a character's point of view story like it was for Jack Lemmon in The Legend of Bagger Vance, or there are important points that need to be brought up. Martin Sheen is just telling us exactly what the moral is and what the theme is. He taught them about hope that day. They learned valuable lessons. Yes, thank you, Martin Sheen. I understand that Charlie's brain has been destroyed from years of drugs and partying, and you need to explain basic concepts to him multiple times. But the rest of us, our brains are working pretty good. You don't need to explain to us the theme of the movie. The visuals are doing that just fine. Thank you. So yeah, those things just freaking annoyed the hell out of me. So as I said a second ago, this is a very paint-by-numbers film. But here's the thing. It's not so much an issue of, is a film paint-by-numbers? The issue is the picture that you're painting still good to look at? And in this case, the answer is yes. Despite everything I've said, despite everything I point out in this almost 12 minutes of ranting, I actually really liked this movie. It was really well done. As I said, it has that same kind of muted color palette, very dusty, a lot of earth tones, a lot of browns, look of those kind of early 2000s sports movies, and yet it's never ugly to look at. There's always a kind of beauty to it. That nice visual metaphor of there's still beauty even in all this ugliness. The performances are pretty top-notch. You know, I've never thought much of Luke Wilson, to be completely honest with you. He is one of those forgettable actors. He just doesn't leave a lasting impression. But I'm going to give him his credit. He does a really good job here. I really liked him in this, and I felt he was a powerful lead. Martin Sheen also, aside from his annoying-ass narration, he does a really great performance as the drunk doctor who becomes kind of the second coach. And what I liked about his drunk doctor, is he knew how to play drunk subtle. All right, a lot of people, when they play the drunk, you know, the sad, lost drunk character, it's very kind of, oh my God, oh, I vomited all over the ball. I don't know what we're going to do. Oh my God. He played it so subtle that it was a minor mispronunciation of a word, or it was just the way he was kind of standing, so that you could tell, or rather, you could not tell necessarily as you were looking, that he was drunk. And that was great. It was really good. And Luke Wilson and Martin Sheen had really good chemistry. They played off each other very well. Even though they did not have very distinguishing characteristics, or you couldn't really tell one from the other, the boys in the film all do a good job. You feel like they are bonding. There is a great scene. One of the, I don't remember the character's name, but it's like the quarterback of the team, not Jake Austin Walker, but the quarterback, kind of the goody two shoes, coach's pet kind of guy. Not a bad character, but that's just his archetype. Where just out of nowhere, his mother, drunk or something, like she comes staggering in just out of nowhere after he hasn't seen her for 10 years and says she wants him to come live with her and her new husband. And you can tell her new husband's an asshole. And this kid's facial acting of just seeing his mother again, the conflicting emotions of anger and happiness and loss that he's going through, all there in his face, and then he just breaks down. It's a really, really well done scene and an excellent acting job by this young man. So I think it was very, very, very well done. And I don't want to give anything away. Of course, this is based on a true story, so I guess I don't know if it's a spoiler to tell you what happens when this happened. The story this is based on happened back in the the 30s. I like that it really does kind of deliver the message that it isn't the winning that's important. Not a lot of sports films have the balls to do that. Rocky, of course, being the most famous. I think We Are Marshall did the same thing, where they won a game, like one game, and that was enough. That was kind of the point. Cool Runnings did kind of the same thing, but not a lot of films have the guts to kind of say, winning really isn't everything. It's the journey, it's the fighting, it's the getting there that matters. And I think this film really delivers that. It really delivers that, especially like in the climactic game, because we all know, we've all seen a sports movie, the climactic game. The reason it's called 12 Mighty Orphans is because they only have 12 members of the team. So that means these guys have to play both offense and defense. So they've played an entire season playing both sides of the ball, and they're like, that final game, they're showing you just how beat up and how tired and how just fucking, ground under they are, and they're getting up and they're pushing through. Like I said, I haven't seen anything really like that since Rocky or Rocky Balboa or Creed, but that whole thing of it's not the winning that is important. It's that, to borrow a line from Rocky, that you go the distance. And I think this film does that very well. It has its flaws. Like I say, it's cliched as all fuck, Again, Wayne Knight and Lane Garrison. Lane Garrison, ironically, it must be something in the name, taking on the Lane Smith role in Mighty Ducks, as the evil coach of the rival team. They are just comically over evil, just like I say, to a point that they don't feel like they belong in the same film. It is wonderful to see Wayne Knight. I do love Wayne Knight. He's great, and so it's great to see him. So the film has its flaws, but it is a better than average sports movie. It's an uplifting film. I guess the question with these uplifting sports movies is, do you feel uplifted by the end? And I can honestly say, yeah, I felt pretty good after watching it. I needed a good movie today. That's something I really needed. And it gave it to me. And I was very happy about it. So I really liked this one. And if you didn't see it in the theaters, find it on DirecTV, find it on, Netflix, get the DVD like I did, but I think it's, if you're a sports movie fan or you just kind of need an uplifting film, I think this one does go the distance. So, final grade for 12 Mighty Orphans. I'm going to go a B+ on this one. It's almost an A. I kind of want to give it an A, but I think realistically it's a B+. It's good. It paints by numbers, but the picture that comes out is quite lovely and very nice to look at. So I call that a victory. All right, so that is all for me at this juncture. So thanks for watching. Go check this one out. We've got more films coming. As long as there are movies to review, we'll be here. So thank you very much, and as always, drive safe, and I will see you at the movies.